Okay, hello everybody. Hello to my friends. Yay. I just looked in here and I didn't see anybody in the chat room and I was like, this will not be fun. Okay. So Douglas, nice to see you. I saw that you took your turn in the drafts. We're doing our second half leagues right now. I started the drafts a little bit early because I figured we could get a head start, and I'm just not going to let this girl's timer run out because she only has 2 minutes in one of the league, or 2 hours left in one of the leagues. But I sent her an email and it's just trying to get everybody in at one time. And I'm going to give myself credit for this because both leagues are full. Everybody's claimed their teams. We are doing the draft at Fantrax because ESPN will not allow a slow draft. And that's pretty impossible to get everybody together at one time these days. So I put a message up in the draft rooms and hopefully you guys will join me. Thanks to the ones that have joined me. Let's get started with some nuggets. This would be courtesy of Leonard Melnick. The Blue Jays. Okay, here's what we're going to talk about today too. We're going to talk about waiver wire pickups, of course. We're going to do an injury update. We're going to talk about some two-star pitchers and talk about news, fantasy baseball news. The Blue Jays, they get to go home, finally. Isn't that exciting for them? They get to play at Rogers Center starting on July 30th for the rest of the season. It's been quite amazing that they still haven't been allowed to go home or to their home ballpark and play. And, I mean, it's actually... it's not a horrible thing that they can't go home because their ballpark that they're playing in now is much better for hitters than I think Rogers Center is, even though I don't think Rogers Center is too bad for hitters anyway. But just to say they get to go home and play in their home ballpark, which is really nice. The Braves, on the other hand, are making trades, and that tells me that they are absolutely trying to contend. They traded for Jock Peterson. I know that they got a couple other players that aren't really fantasy relevant, but they have tons of injuries. They have Mike Soroka out for the season with his third surgery on his Achilles tendon. And I mean, their team did not start out well. They have Acuna out. They're just not, you wouldn't think that this would be a team that would be buyers at the deadline, but it looks to me like they're adding people to their team to try to make it whole again. We'll see what happens there. Luckily, Freddie Freeman's hitting again, right? Finally. Okay. Jed Lowry, we're going to talk about a little bit today, but Lenny brought him up in the Nuggets. He had a walk-off home run yesterday. It was a 100.5 mile per hour pitch. That's the fastest pitch that any Oakland A's player has hit a home run off since the pitch tracking era started in 2008. So really, that's the fastest pitch that has been turned into a home run by a hitter since they started keeping track of that kind of thing. But he's really good lately, and he plays every day, and he bats near the middle of the lineup, and we're going to talk about him when we talk about some players to pick up. But definitely Jed Lowry is not the old Jed Lowry that we're used to. He's having a good season. So I'm just listening for Lenny. I should make sure. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? I'm pulling a Lenny right now. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Malpal, nice to see you up and about. Daniel's here. Nice to see you, Jay Stubbs. Thanks for joining us today. Tomorrow we're going to do Lenny and Lady and the Idiot. Lady and the Idiot. But we should have our sound figured out next week. Tomorrow. We should have our sound will be figured out tomorrow. So, moving on. Vladimir Guerrero, what's up, Vladdy? He's not going to be hampered by no home run derby, is he? He didn't play in it, but still, he was there. I saw him there. He's the first player to hit multiple home runs in his first game after the All-Star break, right after winning the All-Star Game MVP, because he was the All-Star Game MVP. He has 30 home runs in 88 games so far this season. That's tied for the second most home runs in a player's first 88 games at the age 22 or younger since who did it? Okay, age 22 or younger, 30 home runs in 88 games, and it happened within the last 5 years. Who do you think it was? Well, that's tied for the second most. there's actually a couple right answers here. You could probably guess the person that he's tied with, or actually the one that I wanted to tell you about is in the last 5 years. That's who we're going to do for Genius of the Day. Which 22 years old or younger, hit 30 home runs in 88 games in the last 5 years? Okay. The Dodgers scored 5 or more runs in an inning this season for the 23rd time yesterday. No other team has more than 13 such innings. So the Dodgers, they're capable of scoring a lot of runs in one inning, and they're absolutely doing that this year. I'm not that worried about them, though, because their pitching depth is non-existent at this point. And I mean, Cody Bellinger's not been hitting great. They're not having a great year. Max Muncy's having a good year, but is he? Anyway, Muncy. Chris Taylor's having a good year. Gotta check on Muncy. Yeah. I heard that both Mookie Betts and Max Muncy decided that they would unfollow Trevor Bauer. So whatever you want to make of that. Vladimir Guerrero, we already talked about. Okay, the Dodgers, they're scoring a lot of runs in an inning. The Yankees, they had to postpone the game on Thursday. They had to postpone the game because they had 3 pitchers who are fully vaccinated, by the way, turn up positive for COVID. And then the day later, yesterday, they had 3 more players hit the injured list. Those are because of positive tests. And I would assume that I know for sure that a good portion of the Yankees are vaccinated. So Judge is one of them, Cortez, Peralta. None of these guys are really that important, except for there is Gio Urshela in there and Aaron Judge. Also, Higgy, the catcher. I just call him Higgy because his name is too much of a pain for me. Higgy, he's out too. There's 6 out right now. Bud Black, actually, too. The Rockies, they have more players hit the COVID list today, and Rockies, Bud Black, and also the first base coach for the Rockies is also, they were not available for yesterday's games due to COVID protocol, but I know that Bud Black was actually coaching on the All-Star team for the National League. So we don't really know for sure what this breakout is going to look like. But you'd think with 85% of the players vaccinated in baseball that we wouldn't be having so many cases of COVID right now. Maybe it's only unvaccinated. No, it can't be only unvaccinated people because these 3 pitchers were vaccinated. The last time they had an outbreak, all the players were vaccinated except for 1. So maybe the Yankees just got a bum batch of vaccine, right? Maybe they need to go get a new replacement vaccine or something. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We haven't had anybody very sick, but we didn't have anybody get that sick last year either, except for one, Eduardo Rodriguez, who had pretty serious issues, assumably due to COVID. But we didn't have any other players get that sick or hospitalized or anything like that. I mean, I say that because I haven't had it, so I make it sound like it's not that big of a deal, but I know it is a big deal, and I know people, are dying because of it, but the whole thing is crazy, okay? The craziness that we live in. So there you go. The Yankees, they're short, really short on players, but they did play last night, and they're going to make up yesterday's game in August when hopefully they'll be more healthy, and they could even have Luis Severino back by then. You never know. And the Red Sox and the Yankees, they're going to play in the next. They had entering the second half of the season. They started the second half playing each other 7 of the first 9 games back. So the Yankees and the Red Sox are going at it this next few days, next week or so. But let's talk about the Astros for a second. They are tied with Boston for the best record in the American League. They have 56 wins, 36 losses. They're ranked first. Both of these 2 teams are ranked first in MLB. The Houston Astros, though, are ranked number 1 in runs scored. Their hitters have the lowest strikeout rate by far. Their strikeout rate is only 19%, which 10 years ago, if I would have said their strikeout rate is 19%, they would have been at the bottom. They would have been ranked they probably would have been ranked like second to last or something, you know? That is not a great strikeout rate. But as a team, they have the lowest strikeout rate for hitters. They're ranked first in weighted runs created at 119, which is very good. Average is 100. And the run differentials, we'll start to see these run differentials start to even out, to normalize, like we've talked about millions of times on this show alone. I don't know how many other times we've talked about it, but I'll say it again. The idea this season for me was early when I read an article that really sparked my interest, and it was talking about not run differential, but strikeout differential. And it was the idea that you look at strikeouts and walks, they stabilize the quickest in baseball. So it takes quite a while for the run differential to stabilize, and you can't really tell a lot about how good the team is early in the season because a lot of it's just coincidence. But as the season goes, the run differential starts to stabilize, and you can start to see that the teams that are scoring the most runs are at the top of their division, and the teams that aren't scoring the most runs are not. So because of the fact that the stabilized strikeouts early in the season, we have that as a tool to maybe see, you know, which teams are going to be in it for the long haul. And the idea is that if you're striking out less than your opposing teams are striking out against you, then you are a good team. So that didn't really pan out completely, but I still believe somewhat in that theory. Obviously, if you're striking out a lot, it's not great for your team. You don't get on base, you don't score runs. That's, you know, how it works. But with run differential, it will start to stabilize. However, going into the second half, you have a lot of just crazy run differentials and not a lot of teams in the positive here, actually. The Dodgers are at plus 148. They've scored 148 more runs than their opposing teams have scored. The Astros are second with 142 run differential. Then you have the Giants with 121, the White Sox 111, and the Padres at 91. And then if you want to talk about the worst, the very worst in baseball, I'm sure you guys can guess, but it's actually a National League team, which should narrow it down for you. The Diamondbacks are the worst. They have a negative 154 run differential. And then you have the Orioles, who would have thunk, at negative 145. Pirates are at negative 119. Maybe they should spend some more money. Ever think of that? Spend some money. The Royals are at negative 92 run differential, and the Tigers at negative 79. None of those are surprising, but I wonder where the Rockies are on that list. Probably, maybe they're not so bad because they get to hit at Coors Field half the time. The Padres, though, yesterday scored freaking 24 runs, I believe. Was it 22 runs? Holy moly, they were playing Washington. They scored so many runs. That's all I know. They scored the most runs in Padres history in a game. That's right, the most runs in a game in Padres history. The Nationals, that's the most runs that they've allowed in the game, in any one games in history. So both of these teams broke franchise histories. Cronenworth hit for the cycle. That's always exciting. He joins Matt Kemp and Will Myers as the only two other Padres to hit for the cycle. All three Padre cycles have occurred on the road. What a bummer, right? What a bummer for that. So they scored a ton of runs yesterday, 24 runs. They had one player, Will Myers, had 7 RBIs yesterday. That's wonderful. Another player, Tommy Pham, scored 5 runs. And since RBIs became official, no other team has accomplished all of these things in a season, which would be the 24 runs, the hit for a cycle, the 7 RBIs, and the 5 runs in the same season, much less one game. That's crazy. Lindor's out again. Whatever. Lindor, whatever. Where's Traveler? I need to tell him what's going on with Lindor. I'm sure he knows. Our friend Traveler made a great trade, right before, maybe a month ago, he made the trade, but he was really far ahead in saves, and he needed a pitcher. He needed a hitter. Anyway, what he did was he traded 2 pieces of the puzzle that he didn't need as much and took a risk on Lindor. And Lindor was starting to really look like he was coming around. I have my doubts now since he winced and he grabbed his oblique on his last swing. He was out of the game. His last swing, because he was out of the game after that. We'll see what happens today. I don't really know if there's an update yet, but I haven't seen one. So Lindor fans everywhere, you can pause the show to go and have your little cry session, because I would too. It's so annoying. However, if you think about the other losses of the season, then misery loves company, and you could just feel bad for the other people too, like Acuna's owner, Mike Trout's owner, and so on and so forth. Okay. Or Luis Castillo's owner, like myself, or Strasburg, or Glasnow, or the list goes on, you know. So Jared Kelenic is called back up to Seattle Mariners on his 22nd birthday. Whoop-de freaking do. This guy is not ready to be in the major leagues. I'm telling you that as a fantasy friend. I'm telling you that. This guy is not ready to play in the majors. I don't care what he thinks of himself, which is extremely large, by the way. He loves himself, and he absolutely is not mature enough in any way, not physically, not mentally, nothing. He's not ready for the majors. In fact, I will be willing to venture to guess that this guy is not ever going to be, unless he grows up some, unless he like seriously mentally matures some, and maybe being in the majors and having, you know, the reality hit him that he's not as good as he thinks he is. Maybe that will help him grow up some. But I'm telling you, he's just got an attitude problem, and I just don't see it. I hope that I can say that I'm wrong about that, because I don't ever want to wish any young guy to not have success. But until he fixes his attitude and maybe grows a little humility or humbleness or something. Humbleness. Is that it? I just made that word up. That's okay. Okay. He did snap an 0 for 42 slide yesterday. He had a single to left field, and that was his 3rd at bat of the night. That was his 22nd birthday. Happy birthday, dude. I know you're young. I'll give you a break for that. But look at Vladdy. Vladdy is so much mature for his age. Vladdy is the perfect example of what a young guy should do, which is to figure out where you have your holes in your swing or in your whatever part of your play needs work. You figure it out, and then you attack it with 100% of your willpower. And that's what Vladdy did, and that is why Vladdy is succeeding right now. So maybe Kelenic just needs a coach or something, a mentor, a buddy. There's really nobody. I can't think of anybody. Seattle is just, I still think Seattle is going to be buyers, though, so don't even go there. Don't even go, because they're hitting, and they're hitting pretty well. Evan White's out for the season, by the way. Cole Hamels was doing a little show for teams that wanted to come and see him pitch. He had 20 teams there, okay? That was yesterday in Frisco, Texas. And they say that a handful of those teams are already in touch with Cole Hamels. Holy moly, I should go get him immediately in my NL only and just hope that he goes to a National League team, right? I think he will. I don't know. A lot of teams could use him if he's any good still. Yachty, Mr. Yachty, okay? Don't mess with Yachty. He's passed Ozzie Smith as the highest valued defensive player in Major League Baseball history, according to Fangraphs, okay? Their defensive metrics. Yachty is the most valuable defensive player in Major League Baseball history. He just passed Ozzie Smith. Go Yachty. I love Yachty. I don't know what the Cardinals are going to be like when they lose both Yachty and Wainwright. I mean, honestly, what are they going to be? They're just not that good lately. We do have a player that I think you should pick up and keep an eye on. And by the way, Paul DeJong is hitting lately. I watched him hitting lately, so he's a must-put active. And then we have another player, an outfielder for St. Louis that you might want to be interested in picking up tomorrow. The Phillies want Buxton, okay? The Phillies are interested in Buxton. Why? So they could replace Odubel Herrera? I don't know. I'm just kidding. But Buxton is getting offers. from the Twins. I believe they offered him $70+ million in a contract, which, for his injury history, this guy is a risk just to invest anything in him. I mean, but the Phillies are interested in him. They like him. The Twins are trying to sign him, and apparently it's a very tricky negotiation. But I think like the best thing a team will probably do, or if they were smart, they would, right? Because, I'm always smarter than the teams and the people that run them. If they were smart, they would just give incentives. They would put like a low guaranteed contract, and then they would offer incentives. So like if you get even 300 at bats in a season, we will pay you an extra $1 million or whatever. But this guy can't even stay healthy for 300 at bats, even though if he did, he would be perhaps the best player in baseball. He would be rivaling Tatis, okay, for the best player if he could stay healthy, like Tatis can stay healthy. So moving on, we'll keep an eye on that with Buxton. The Nationals, they're interested in Kris Bryant. We don't really know what the Nationals are going to do come trade deadline. We don't know if they're going to be sellers. We don't know if they're going to be buyers. The next week, it will matter. So it's going to come down to the wire for them what they're going to do. But they are interested in Kris Bryant. They don't want to trade their like these top pitching prospects that they have, Cavalli or Rutledge. They don't want to trade either of them, but they still want Kris Bryant. So really, you're going to have to trade something valuable for Kris Bryant because he's having a decent season, and definitely the Cubbies are looking to get rid of him. The Cubbies also are looking to put Craig Kimbrell on the market, and you don't know about Rizzo or Baez, but I will say Javi Baez is a street in Wrigleyville. It's called Javi Baez Way, and he is a fan favorite in Chicago, and I do not see them trading Javi Baez or Rizzo for that matter. I think both of those two are staying. If the Cubbies feel any sense of hope for the future, for the next couple of seasons, if they're not completely out of hope, I mean, this is what Theo does. He wins you a World Series, and then he leaves in your team in shambles and with a ton of payroll, and like half of your roster is pretty much non-existent. So that's what they did to the Red Sox. That's what he did. But how are you going to dog the guy? He helped you win a World Series after 80 or more years, and you got to just leave it at that, all right? And move on with your $200 million payroll and stuff and figure out a way. Because I remember when Theo left, they traded him for a player to be named later to Cubbies, and he left with like people on the roster that you would never even want on your roster, okay? Like Lackey and Dice K was still there, I think. Josh Beckett, all these contracts that were just ridiculous. So it is what it is. I don't think the Cubbies are going to be much in the next couple years, but that's just an opinion. So David Fletcher has a 25-game hitting streak. Can you imagine that? David Fletcher, he's having a good season. He's okay, though. Like, he's what you call a pure hitter, right? Because that's what they call guys that don't have a lot of power and don't steal a lot of bases. They have a good batting average, good on base percentage, and they drive in runs if they hit in a good spot in the lineup, and they can score. So that's David Fletcher, I believe. I have him in our dynasty league. So let me check our drafts. How fun we're drafting right now. I wish this lady would go because she is going to run out of time. And over here we have Greg Vincent up. Fun stuff. I picked Shohei Ohtani, my first pick, and because I figure like that was in one league. I haven't picked in the other league yet, but Ohtani, I figure he's probably worth. I'm really of the mindset that I should trade him immediately, but I don't know. It's a daily league. That's why I took him. Trade Baez? No, I would keep Baez. Dude, I would definitely keep Baez. No way do I leave. No. Baez on the Mets radar, huh? Well, the Mets are willing to spend money, so we'll see what happens there. But I doubt that they get rid of Baez. They would have to get a lot. Douglas, where are you at on this conversation? Because you're a Cubbies fan. I'm surprised I'm not hearing more out of you today. Guest Ethel, you're probably a dude, but we call you Ethel here because we are non-conforming in this chat room. That's right. Douglas, you're not the only one that drafted Mike Trout. In our other league, Mike Trout got drafted number 2 overall. I have an update on Mike Trout later in the show. Let's move on and just keep going down my notes. I already told you that the Yankees and the Red Sox play 7 of 9 against each other. So it is unfortunate that the Yankees are really depleted when it comes to players because they're all COVID. And I don't know, like, why some teams, when they have a breakout, why do they get their games canceled? Why now, when the Yankees have 6 players actually on COVID IL, why don't they get to have tonight's game postponed or yesterday's game postponed? They didn't, I don't think. I'm almost positive that they played yesterday, but I could be wrong. Let me check. Lenny hates it when I do this, but I'm going to anyway because I'm defiant. Yesterday, the Yankees and the Red Sox, did they play? I think they did. They did not. I do not. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, they did play yesterday. Eduardo Rodriguez won. It was 4-0 Boston. And I'm sorry, but let's go ahead and see who played yesterday for the poor Yankees. They had like nobody. Well, they had Sanchez. They had Torres. I don't know who that. Oh, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Odor was in, Stanton DH. They just were horrible yesterday. They got 3 hits, 1 error by Aroldis Chapman. Freaking Chapman, he's horrible. He pitched 1 inning, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He's just been a nightmare. He only faced 4 batters. So Eduardo Rodriguez is another cat that we're going to be talking about later on in the show. And then after the whole Yankees instance, then the Rockies too now. So who knows? We could probably be expecting more COVID situations coming forward since everybody was together hanging out, palling around at the All-Star game. The Rockies placed 4 players. They had Antonio Zenzatella, Yancy Almonte, Yuli Chacin, and Jonathan Daza all going to the COVID injured list today. I told you Bud Black and the first base coach were not available for yesterday's game because they were coaching on the All-Star team. We'll see what happens with that. There was actually a situation near the ballpark, near Coors Field, 1 block away from Coors Field at this hotel. They found a bunch of, like, the person that took the people to the rooms, or whoever, maybe it was the maid cleaning the rooms. I think it was the maid. She saw like all these weapons and stuff. So she reported it and the police came. They were all heavily armed, but they found like 12 weapons, a whole bunch of ammo. These people requested a balcony room, which everybody should. If they don't, they're just an idiot, and they don't even have to be trying to shoot up a place to request a balcony room, but that's just part of the story. So this happened. They arrested like 3 guys, and they're figuring out. Of course, they say they don't have any reason to believe that this was that they were planning any kind of terrorism attack. Well, what would they be doing with 12 weapons and a whole suitcase full of ammunition, which, by the way, is very expensive these days? So you don't just cart that stuff around if you're not planning to use it. Do they have a reason why they were there in a hotel 1 block away from the All-Star game with 12 weapons and like 2 suitcases? I don't know. It's weird. I can tell you that. It's weird. Nobody's talking about it, though. I just thought it was interesting to bring up. Zach Gallen is going to pitch today, you guys. That's news. That's Zach Gallen pitching today. All right. Whoopee for Zach Gallen. He's going to be on a strict pitch count. I'm sure of it. I don't know that. I did not read that. That's just coming out of my own brain, but I would assume so since, he's been in and out all year long, but I'm happy to see him back. Hopefully he'll have a decent second half of the season. Starlin Castro was also put on administrative leave because there's some kind of alleged domestic violence incident with him that occurred back in the spring. He was actually out. June 15th, he left. He flew back home to Dominican. I think he's from the Dominican. Forgive me it's somewhere in South America. He flew home, and he was back 3 days later. But this incident has nothing to do with that incident. But that was also another alleged issue with some I want to say female, but it could have been a male. I don't know for sure the details of that one. But this time he was accused in 2011 of sexual assault. Nobody pressed any charges against Starlin Castro, but now it's coming back to haunt him because he's in trouble for something else. So the bottom line, the MLB, they don't mess around. They don't care if you're guilty. They don't care if you're not guilty. If you get in trouble with the police, you are on suspension for a good number of games, and that's it. That's the problem, though. They don't care if you're guilty or not. That is so ridiculous to me, and it really can hurt a player's value and their future, because if they're not guilty, I mean, there are situations where people like to set up athletes. They like to make a situation out of something that really wasn't any big deal to me or you. They will make a situation out of it. They will cause a scene, call the police, whatever. Now, just because you got yourself in that situation, you are now losing millions of dollars because now your reputation is ruined, blah, blah, blah. The story goes on, but I don't think they should be punishing players if they are not found guilty, or, if there's no charges pressed against them. It's none of your business. Okay, MLB. Why don't you pay attention to things that matter to you, like the game of baseball? Focus on that. I just think they're harsh. I think they're too hard. I think they're harsh on people that don't get charged with a crime, and they give them the same punishment as the guy that, spends 2 weeks in jail because he beat up somebody, whatever. They give the same punishment. It's 50 games or something like that. So be prepared. Bauer's not coming back. Neither is Starlin Castro. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. We'll see what happens. But Castro is not worth holding on to anyway. So, I mean, if you have him on your roster, it was mostly because he's been hitting good the last couple weeks. So, but this is not the case. He's not like a keeper. You don't need to keep him on your roster or make room for him. Nicholas Castellanos left yesterday's game against the Brewers. He was hit in the right forearm in the third inning, and he did run the bases and all that, but he came out of the game afterwards. He did have x-rays, and they show no fractures to his wrist. Thank goodness for those people who have Castellanos as their superstar on their team, because he's been the superstar this year. No surprise there. I mean, thank goodness that fantasy doesn't count defense, or he would be horrible. The Diamondbacks traded Stephen Vogt to the Braves, so that's the other player that the Braves got. Not a big deal, but still just goes to show that they're making moves, that they're interested in competing, and they will continue to try no matter what. So I don't blame them. The division was supposed to be the toughest division in baseball with all these great teams over there, and none of them are cutting the mustard. The Mets are ahead in that division, and they probably will continue to be ahead. And they don't even have good players on their team. I mean, their players are not that great this year. Lindor is a huge disappointment, but, you got Pete Alonso. I like Pete Alonso. I don't care. I read a headline the other day. Why is Pete Alonso not likable? Probably because your political ideology doesn't match up with his. So, you don't like anybody that the political ideology doesn't match up with yours, right? I think he's likable, but I don't care what his political ideology is. That's the truth. I just don't care. But I like him. I think he's likable because he smiles a lot, and he's very confident, and he deserves to be confident because he is the best home run hitter in baseball. I mean, Nelly Cruz, no offense to you, buddy, but, up and coming. Jaron Duran was called up. Jaron Duran, the Red Sox youngster, very exciting about him. He had a great minor league go so far this season. He's like home runs, stolen bases, all this stuff. Don't get too excited because a rookie is a rookie. Marwin Gonzalez was headed back to the injured list, and Austin Bryce DFA'd, and then Tanner Houck was recalled again, but he doesn't ever go deep into games. I wish he would. Like, he actually is a pretty good pitcher, Tanner Houck, but he doesn't be good for fantasy because he can't make it past the fourth inning. So, I mean, there's that. And one more nugget here. Well, this is my nugget, but this is news. The Dodgers, they say that they could call Josiah Gray to fill a spot start while Clayton Kershaw is still out, because it would be Kershaw's next turn. Kershaw's expected back within the next couple weeks, like before the end of July, most likely. But this guy, Josiah Gray, I think is their best prospect in the minors, maybe their second best, but he's in the top 5 for sure. He's pitched 15 innings at AAA, 15 2/3 innings. He's only allowed 8 hits, 22 strikeouts in 15 and 2/3. That's the good side. His ERA is a good side. So is his whip. So his ERA is 2.87 and his whip is 0.68. Now it's time for the bad news on Josiah Gray. We're talking about minor AAA is what we're talking about here. And I believe he also pitched in AA this year. He only pitched in AAA in 2021. 15 and 2/3 innings, 3 home runs, 5 earned runs, only 2 walks. So that's good. That's why his ERA and whip is still good. But seriously, 3 home runs in 15 innings, that means that no, minor leaguers are connecting on this, and it's no good. Guys like Wander Franco and Kalenic, you know what I mean? Like that's really not, it doesn't bode well for me. He did play in 2019. He played at high A and double A. About 70 innings he pitched, over those 2 levels, and he had a good ERA. He had an ERA under 3 both times. Injuries, we talked about Lindor. Yes, we did. Lindor left the game, so keep an eye on that. Chris Sale. Here we go, injuries. Chris Sale is absolutely exciting for fantasy purposes. He is on his way back, knock on wood, because anything could happen. He's the last standing Tommy John guy coming back that we already lost. I mean, we've lost several, like Noah Syndergaard, Luis Severino. We've lost quite a few potential aces for what could be rescuing your team in the second half down the stretch. But Chris Sale is on his way back. He's ready to go on a rehab assignment. 16 months ago, he had Tommy John surgery. He's right on schedule. They say optimal recovery time is about 18 months, but he should be good to go. He's a veteran. He's experienced somehow. Anyways, don't expect him to be the best pitcher in Boston. And that's not saying much, because the Boston rotation is about to fall apart. Even though I'll give them credit, they've been maintaining this far, and I can't believe it. But Eovaldi, man, this guy's probably pitched more innings this year than he's pitched in the last 3 years combined. Eovaldi. That's probably an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? He doesn't pitch a lot of innings. I don't trust him at all. If I had an opportunity to trade Eovaldi, he would be on the list. No doubt about it. Chris Sale, expect a 4 ERA from this guy. He could be back by early August. If you want to grab Chris Sale, this is going to be your last opportunity to do it. So feel free to go ahead and make a bid on him in tomorrow's waiver process, because you aren't going to get him next week. He's going to be way too popular. If you don't already have him and he's not already owned, which he could be, do that for yourself, just in case. Carlos Carrasco. He's another guy that could be exciting coming back. This guy, though, I'm warning you, has had all kinds of ups and downs. Last week on Saturday, we did a deep dive into Carrasco and a couple other injured players, and we talked about Carrasco at length. And I could tell you this. He was on his way back with arm problems, forearm soreness or something, and then he is working out in the gym, and he gets a hamstring injury, which was a pretty severe hamstring injury. And now he's finally back from that, but he still has not pitched for a long time, and he will have to work his way back up. The Mets differ with the Red Sox or the Dodgers in that they will not bring, or that they are willing to put Carrasco back in the rotation before he's completely stretched out. So expect him to be activated in the near future, but do not expect him to pitch 5 innings in any start until, I would say, maybe 3 weeks later. 3 weeks, probably the end of August. You're going to get Carrasco for a month, but you'll get, if you want a couple innings here and there, that's your man, but you probably don't. So I don't know. If you want Carrasco, you're going to have to get him this week. That's another one too. So Tyler Glasnow, you can just pretty much kiss Tyler Glasnow goodbye for the season. He is literally trying to avoid Tommy John surgery right now. So he has a small tear in his UCL, which is no bueno for pitchers. This is Tommy John 99.9% of the time. The only time it's not Tommy John is when you have a guy like Tanaka. He's the only pitcher that I've ever heard of that had a tear in his UCL or damaged UCL that did not undergo Tommy John surgery. There's one other pitcher in baseball right now that I can't think of who it is that has a damaged UCL. But until that tale is told, the only one I've ever seen is Tanaka. So if Glasnow thinks that he's going to come back this year and avoid Tommy John, he's out of his mind. I think that's just my opinion. The plan was to keep Glasnow from throwing at all for 4 weeks, and then they were going to reevaluate him, and they will reevaluate him in the next week or so. We should hear more news, but I have to say the odds of him coming back this year are slim, and if he does, it's very dangerous. So do not continue to hold on to Tyler Glasnow. As good as he is, he's worthless to your fantasy season in a redraft league. Mike Trout, you guys. So I hate to say this because it's not that bright for Mike Trout. The people that chose to pick Mike Trout, I could totally see why you do. He went out. He was okay. He hit the DL or the IL, whatever you want to call it, in the politically correct society that we live in these days. May 17th, Mike Trout went out to injury with a calf strain. Okay, that's 2 months ago. He was given 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, okay, of recovery time. And they think that he has a small tear in his calf because I don't know why they think that, but they say it takes a lot longer. They always take longer. Always calf issues take longer than they expected to heal. And the threat of re-injuring it is always high. So he's not ready to return yet, but he's been hitting off of a pitching machine and he's still not running. So that is the problem. He's still not running, although he plays for an American League team. And if it was necessary, he could be the designated hitter if need be. But so the calf muscle is actually responsible for the plantar, the same, the tendon on the bottom of your foot or the back of your foot that causes plantar fasciitis. So if that gets injured, there's a possibility of ending up with that issue. And that is horrible. Ask Albert Pujols. He knows how it feels, and it is horrible. So they say late August that he could return in late August. That's another month away. So late August. So they say that they're going to wait till late August, and then you could be cautiously optimistic that he can put up some kind of strong numbers in September. The sooner that he comes back, the higher the chances of re-injury, and that's true for pretty much everybody. So I don't know why we need to keep repeating it. We just do. That's just what it is. Corey Seager. Corey Seager's been out since May 15th. He has a fractured pinky finger, 8-week recovery time. He did not need surgery, so he's been swinging the bat lately, and he will continue to rehab at the Dodgers spring training facility, and he should be back by mid-August. So that's just still, we're talking a month away for Corey Seager. But think of this. Yes, it's taken him a long time, but I mean, I hope that, I'm not a big fan of Corey Seager to begin with, but he had a great season last year, so I'll give him that. He's on a good team. He'll get right back in the lineup if you're interested. That's good. Luis Severino's on the list. He was working his way back from Tommy John right the same day that I tell everybody that he's going to be a game changer and all this stuff. He gets hurt. He gets suffers a setback. So, all right, he stopped throwing. Now he's throwing again, tossing bullpen sessions. I don't know. He's gonna. The concern is always there that he's rushing back too quickly. But, Severino has been kind of known for injuries too. And I am definitely not anywhere near as excited about Severino as I was just a month ago when I saw him working his way back, because I do not like this. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery. So, just anything that happens to him is going to be pushing him back. If he rushes his recovery, guess what the answer to that is? Guess what happens when you rush your recovery? Anyway, he's got lower body injuries and upper body injuries. He's got elbow problems, and he's just, I don't recommend him at all. Noah Syndergaard, same thing. I do not recommend him. He stopped his throwing program back in late May. He had soreness in his pitching elbow. An MRI showed inflammation, but no structural damage. So he has been trying to work his way back from inflammation in his elbow. His next step is throwing off a mound. So he has not even been throwing off a mound, but then he will go to bullpen sessions, and then he will go to a rehab assignment. I'll be surprised if we even see Noah Syndergaard around this year. He's got to go if you have him on a redraft. I don't know why you would, because we already accepted the fact that he had to go. But he likes to let's talk about the drafts real quick and see if anybody's gone. Greg is up. Lenny, email Greg Vincent. Tell him. It's his turn in the draft, please. Greg Vincent. And Terry. Voda Linda. That's her email address. I think it's a girl. Her name's Terry. Is it a girl? I hope it's a girl. We hardly ever have any girls. So it's her turn, though. She's going to run out of time if I don't fix it. Okay. The week ahead is what we're doing now. We have lots of question marks, though, because it feels like the teams came back from All-Star break and they did not have any idea what they were going to do for the week ahead. The Rays do get to face they have great matchups this week. The Rays get to face three Orioles pitchers to start the week. Tom Eshelman, Spencer Watkins, and John Means. And then they finish the week against 4 Cleveland starting pitchers. So they have 7 games. The Cleveland starting pitching is just depleted to the max. They have Cal Quantrill, Zach Plesac, J.C. Mejia, and Tristan McKenzie. Those are all good matchups for the Tampa Bay Rays hitters. Brandon Lau is a must-start. Zunino must-start, even with his horrible batting average, way under the Mendoza line. Like, the Mendoza line is a good season for Zunino. That's how bad his batting average is most of the time. Of course, Austin Meadows is a must. Randy Arozarena should be put into your lineup. And you could even put and roster active Wander Franco this week, if you so choose to do that, which I will not be because I don't have him on any teams, but I still wouldn't play him, even though his matchups are really good. If he's going to do anything, it should be this coming week. So Franco, okay, he only has 2 barrels in 46 batted balls on the season, but his exit velocity has proven to be above average. Okay, so there's that. Definitely has power if he could just make connection with the ball. He closed out the first half of the season by striking out 6 of his last 9 plate appearances in the last 2 games. Yesterday, though, a positive note on that, coming back from the All-Star break, he went 2 for 6 with a triple, 2 runs scored, and he struck out twice. So the Nationals, they're hitting well lately. The Nationals are hitting well. So that's the thing. We'll see what the Nationals choose to do at the deadline, if they're serious about this year or not, if they think they can compete based on the upcoming games. So they're hitting well lately. Only the Giants and Padres have a higher weighted on base average than the Nationals in the last month. They play 3 games at home against Miami, and then they go and do a 3-game series at Baltimore. Start Josh Bell. You could start Josh Harrison. The Astros, they have a 3-game home series against Cleveland. Yay for them. And then they get to face Texas, okay? Rangers. Horrible team. The Astros have a great upcoming week. Miles Straw's been hitting good. Miles Straw's been hitting .330. He's got 22 runs and 7 stolen bases over the last 127 plate appearances. He is still available in leagues, and he shouldn't be. So for crying out loud, please quit leaving him out there. Abraham Toro's okay. He's really not doing what we want him to do. He's not hitting for power, but Alex Bregman is not coming back this week, so Toro will continue to play third base if he's available and you need a third baseman. He can drive in runs, you know. He definitely can drive in some runs. The Cubbies are they have the lowest weighted on base average in the majors with a 283 over the past 30 days. They have 4 games at St. Louis and 3 games at home against the Diamondbacks. You couldn't ask for a better team to face, right? The Diamondbacks. Anyway, Baez, of course, should be active, and he's got a great week coming up. So if you do want to trade him, could you wait until after this week? Baez is a must this week. The Cubbies are facing mostly right-handed pitchers, so Jason Hayward could be an option in deep leagues. And the Royals and the White Sox, both of these two American League teams are going to Milwaukee for a series this upcoming week. So that hurts the DH situation for the Royals and the White Sox. Of course, the Royals DH is Jorge Soler, and he's been absolutely horrendous. He's been not even playable in fantasy, but I honestly believe that because of his underlying statistics, he is not doing anything different than has been doing. He's not a good plate discipline guy, but he does hit for power, and he's not been doing that lately. I do see the second half being better for him, and this week sucks for him because he's probably not going to play half the time. But moving forward after that, I would say that he's worth $1 pickup, actually. I think that he's probably available in most leagues, and we know 100% certain that he has the ability to hit for home runs, and if his stats just normalize to what they're normally doing in response to him doing what he's normally doing, then absolutely his numbers could get better, okay? His batting average on balls in play is 244. Last year it was 317. The year before that it was 295. This is definitely the outlier for the batting average on balls in play. He's getting unlucky. His line drive rate is down like a lot. His line drives, I mean, he's used to hitting about 20% line drives. Right now he's hitting 14% line drives. That's something weird. But his contact rate is the same. His walk rate is the same. His strikeout rate is the same. Actually better than last year, about the same as it was a couple years ago, and like his normal average strikeout rate. He hit 48 home runs in 2019, dude. He hit 48 home runs with 117 RBIs. That is real. The stuff he was doing that year is the same stuff he's doing right now as far as his habits at the plate. So don't count him out yet. He does have 7 home runs on the season, and I definitely see him having a better second half. He's probably free. That's why I bring him up. So Gavin Sheets, the White Sox have 3 road games against the Brewers. I already told you that, so they won't be having to DH those 3 games. And then Gavin Sheets is only batting 225, but he has hit 3 home runs, and he's going to continue to be like that because that's the kind of hitter that he is, really. He could play all 4 games earlier in the week against the Twins, and then he could even get into the lineup against the Brewers, but there is no DH, so don't count on it. It's probably best to bench him if you have him on your roster. Bench Gavin Sheets. If you're trying to find out who to bench him. Brewers land is not good for DH. Now, also, let me tell you, I can't even believe I'm still saying this. Eric Haas, the catcher, the left fielder in Detroit, the guy that gets playing time every single day, and he hits 3rd in the order, and you people are not getting him. He's still available in like 85% of leagues, even though he has 13 home runs. In the past 2 weeks, he have 12 RBIs. Okay, 12 RBIs. He's still available in 44% of CBS leagues. What in the world is wrong with you? It's not my listeners. My listeners would not be leaving him out there this long. Nope, it wouldn't be happening. He's not going to have a good batting average. In fact, his floor is like the floor of Zunino. So when he stops hitting, you should probably yank him out of your lineup immediately. But right now he qualifies as catcher, but actually plays left field, which means he plays every day. He gets in the lineup every day. Every other catcher is not hitting in the lineup every day. He is batting 3rd. That is fine. It's better than any other spot that he could be, okay, in the lineup. And yes, the lineup is not that strong in Detroit, but I have to say that you must play these people while they're hot. And it could be that his luck is gone now. It's too late for you. Let me tell you another one to pick up then if you missed out on him. Roberto Perez. I know nobody likes him. That's why he's available right now in like 90% of leagues. He's available. But guess what? He's the best catcher in baseball. Defensively, he's the best catcher in baseball. He will get playing time all day long. I don't care. I know that they have another catcher there that has been playing okay and is a pretty well-known catcher. I just can't think of who it is. Austin? No, that's LA Dodgers. whatever his name is, he will get a spot every now and then. Again, he will get in the lineup, especially now. Roberto Perez is back from injury. He's already hit a home run. Now he has 3 home runs since he came back on July 4th. He has already hit 3 home runs. I'm telling you this because Roberto Perez was one of my favorite draft picks going into the season, just because of the fact that we know he can hit over 20 bombs. I know his average is absolutely horrible, but so is every other catcher, and it didn't bother me that bad because he was literally free in drafts. People weren't even drafting this guy. We know that he's going to get playing time because he is the best catcher defensively in the game, and he does have the potential to hit over 20 home runs because we've seen him do it. So, absolutely, Roberto Perez is on a roll right now, okay? Don't expect it to last all season, but he has 3 homers, 6 RBIs, and 4 runs with a 261 average in 6 games since he's been back from injury. Okay, if you missed out on Eric Haas, go get him. Now, a couple other catchers I will mention. Seattle catcher Luis Torrens. He is another guy that is qualified at catcher but does not even play catcher most of the time. He's been having an excellent couple weeks. I mean, let me see. He's batting near the middle of the lineup, too. That's another thing. He plays most of the time. If he's not playing catcher, he's playing somewhere else in the outfield. Or maybe first base. I can't remember where he plays, but he plays somewhere else. So, designated hitter is where he's playing. He's acting as designated hitter with the days that he's not behind the plate. But in 9 games and 35 plate appearances, he has 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 7 walks, a 321 batting average, 457 on base percentage. 4 runs scored. He's whatever it is. He's a decent catcher. He will qualify there. He will play DH. We love that even better because he doesn't get no wear and tear on his body. Let's check the drafts. Greg Vincent still up. Leonard, did you contact this guy, Greg? Terry, help me out, Leonard. Help me out, Leonard. I should hear him talking back to me in a minute. So let me check the chat room. Okay, everybody. Poncho's here. Nice to see you, Poncho. Yay. The draft room is complete when Poncho comes. That's for sure. I don't know if you guys know who Domingo Ayala is. He was who I played last week. He's really funny. He was teaching you guys how to get more grip on or put more spin on the ball by using substances. Anyway, he's a comedian and he's on YouTube. Domingo Ayala is his name. And I just saw some footage of him at the All-Star game. Like he's either a minor league coach or because he's with teams and stuff. Like you see him in the clubhouse at Rockies. You see him. This is not this year, but like in the past years, I've seen him with the Dodgers at spring training. I've seen him I know he does appearances. Like he shows up and people can hire him to come and do appearances at their school or whatnot. I don't know exactly what he does when he's not doing comedy, but he's freaking hilarious. And he just put out a new video. Domingo Ayala at the All-Star game. It's just interesting. I was really trying to get him to come on our Sirius show. Bennett was going to reach out to him, and I think he will come on, but that was when COVID happened, and then we forgot all about it. So I didn't really forget. I still like this guy. He's very funny on YouTube. Yes, in America, you're supposed to be proven innocent. You're supposed to be proven guilty before you get your reputation killed. That's absolutely. And Malpal, smarty, not taking any position on this stuff. But Malpal, you take a position on this stuff because your job required it at one point in your life. But now you're retired and you're my friend in the chat room. That's your job. And Tina too. She's works at home. Starlin, okay, let's go past this drama stuff. Let's talk about some other baseball stuff. Did Darvish get Tommy John surgery? Did he? I don't think he did. I really don't think he's missed any time, but I'm not positive. Yay, it's Rottweiler. Well, you were here, Rottweiler. Nice to see you. Very much. Nice to see you. So, the Angels' first 20 draft picks were pitchers. What? Yeah, somebody did figure out they have no pitching. Rottweiler, gone. I didn't talk to him inside. Okay, hi, Leonard. You're listening outside. Hello. Okay, yay. Yay to Poncho Jr. I like it. So, moving on. Let's talk about Minnesota Twins outfielder Trevor Larnick. Larnick. If Douglas was here, he could tell me how to say it. He's a good source of power. He gets RBIs. He's only rostered in like 20% of leagues. From July 1st, or since July 1st, he's played in 11 games, 46 plate appearances, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 256 batting average, and a 304 on base percentage. He plays every day. He's absolutely worthy of putting on your roster maybe if you need something. But I have a better outfielder, and that would be, I'm going to skip down to him because I think he's a better outfielder for you. Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader is only owned in 12% of leagues, if you could imagine, okay? He gets home runs. He steals bases. From July 1st till now, 10 games, Harrison Bader has 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a 297 batting average, 366 on base percentage, and he's having a decent season with this Harrison Bader cat, okay? He's only owned in 12% of leagues. I absolutely recommend him above Minnesota Twins guy. But Jed Lowry, we talked a little bit about earlier. Jed Lowry, second baseman, he's only owned in 38% of leagues. He is absolutely getting it done right now. I'm not saying it's going to last forever, but so far he's doing it. Since July 1st, 11 games, 4 home runs. Since July 1st, okay, 11 RBIs, 395 average. That's not going to continue, but he's not a horrible player. He's never been good. He's always been kind of like mediocre, vanilla, whatever. He went 3 for 5 yesterday. He hit a 2-run homer. He got an RBI and he struck out, but he plays every day and he hits in the middle of the order, and there's nothing better than that. Oakland second baseman, Jed Lowry. Mr. Jed Lowry. Okay, also on the list is Chas McCormick. He is rostered in 6% of leagues. Since July 1st, 6 games he's played in, 1 home run, 8 RBIs, 412 batting average. He only plays on occasion. This is not a 12-team league target. This is a 15-team league target if he's available, but he only plays, I think, when Miles Straw is not playing, because they both play the same position, which is not good because Miles Straw is hitting like crazy. And if you have an opportunity to pick up one or the other, it's definitely, without a doubt, Miles Straw. He's stealing bases like crazy. All right, who else do we have on the list? We have Adam Engel. He's back from injury once again. He's not related to our friend Scotty Engel, but he's back from the IL. He's only owned in 6% of leagues, or rostered, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's acceptable. So let's see. So far, Adam Engel has 5 home runs, 11 RBIs in 14 games. That's a lot of home runs in 14 games. He's been out most of the season, but the time that he's in, he's pretty darn good. Let's see, from July 7th, which is when he returned from the IL, to now, which is only 4 games, okay? He already has 2 home runs in the last 4 games since he came off the IL. And again, he's got 5 home runs on the season. He's got 5 home runs in just 14 games. So he is definitely somebody to look at. Plus, he steals some bases now and again. Like, he stole 1 base since he's been back in 4 games, and then 2 on the season so far. And he got caught stealing 1 time. But it just in the past 4 games, like I said, he's been pretty darn good. He's absolutely under the radar. Like, 4 games, 7 RBIs he has. 4 games, 7 RBIs, 5 runs, a stolen base, and 2 homers. Like, Adam Engel, I think we're just used to him being mediocre, but he's doing well. So grab him if you need it. He's an outfielder, by the way. He's only owned in 6% of leagues. That's crazy talk. I would have him on my team in a 12-team league too. So don't feel bad. Jock Peterson. Okay, Douglas, I know you don't like Jock Peterson, but you probably like him much better now that he's not a Cubby. He's now an Atlanta Brave. So Jock Peterson was traded. He should play pretty much every day because Acuna is out, and that's probably why they grabbed him to begin with. But he's available in 60% of leagues, if you can imagine that. We know he hits home runs, especially against lefties. If you're in a daily moves league, you put him in there only against lefties, and he will not hurt your batting average one bit. Or maybe he doesn't hit lefties. I don't think he hits lefties at all. You got to watch out for him. I think he doesn't hit lefties. Or he only hits lefties. I can't remember right now because my brain only has so much room in there. But check it out. Somebody in the chat room will tell me if Jock Peterson can't hit lefties. I think that's what makes more sense. Cubbies, first baseman Patrick Wisdom. Okay, So Patrick Wisdom is kind of like this other guy we talked about earlier. Here he is what he is. He's a high strikeout, high power player, hitter. He plays first base, third base, and he can also play in the outfield, but I don't think he's played this year enough in the outfield to qualify there. I'm pretty sure he qualifies at both first and third. Okay, so you got a big first baseman that hits for power and strikes out a lot. He's had 33. Oh no, he's played so far in the majors. He's played 6 games at first base and 33 games at third base, and then he's also played 2 games in the outfield, but you need more than that probably in your league for him to qualify. He may or may not pick up that eligibility, but with Peterson gone now, to the Braves, it opens up like 3/4 of a spot, a roster spot, because Jock Peterson didn't really play every day either, but so in 2021, he strikes out 39% of the time. He only walks 6% of the time. He makes contact 58%, which is horrible. It's horrible. He hits home runs, okay? Since July 2nd, he's hit 2 homers, 5 RBIs. That's what you're really looking at this guy for, and you're lucky if he gets an average above the Mendoza line. I mean, I don't think he's going to be that great of a hitter in the majors. I think that he's going to hit for power, and he's going to strike out a lot, 35% of the time. We're no joke about that, but here's what he is. You know what you're getting. Marlins have a shortstop named Miguel Rojas. He's available in 56% of leagues. He's healthy again. He wasn't healthy earlier. Since July 2nd, we have a guy in 12 games. He plays every day. No home runs, but he steals bases. So it's a speedy guy, shortstop, Marlins, batting .333. Only has 1 run. So, but like I said, he's just got back from the injured list, and he's gotten a hit in 9 out of the 12 games that he's been in since he was activated from injury. Another guy that's pretty interesting for a Pittsburgh Pirates player, Rodolfo Castro, is only owned in 3% of leagues. He hit 2 home runs right before the All-Star break, and he's definitely going to see more playing time, especially when Pittsburgh trades Adam Frazier. But right now he qualifies. Well, he played second base and third base in the minor leagues. He played second base 17 times, and he played third base 32 times this season. And then in the majors, he's played 2 games at second and 2 games at third. He's definitely going to qualify at both of these spots, because that seems to be that they're just playing him wherever they need him, kind of a utility guy. But since he was called up, or since he arrived in Major League Baseball, in 6 games, okay, July 6th is when he had his first game. 6 games, 3 home runs in 6 games, 4 RBIs, 4 runs, a .273 batting average, and no stolen bases. This guy's name is Rodolfo Castro. He's a second base / third base Pittsburgh Pirate. He will definitely gain in playing time should they trade Adam Frazier, which I don't know if they're going to do, but everybody else seems to think they will. I already told you Jaron Duran is up. He's available in 38% of leagues, but he won't be after tomorrow, and you should not spend the money that it's going to take to get this guy, in my opinion. If he's that exciting to you, yes, he hit 15 home runs. He stole 12 bases, 46 games at AAA so far this season. That's impressive. You got to love it. You also have to know that people are going to be spending like the majority of their free agent budget on this guy just to get him on their team, and it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it. You know how I feel about rookies, but it's just, I would advise against it. Okay, here's some pictures to look at for this coming next week, and we'll be done after that. I've already been on for over an hour because I have that much to talk about. I didn't think I was going to today, but I do. James Capriellian. 2 starts. He's got 1 against Ohtani, which stinks. Don't want to go up against Ohtani. Then you get to go to Seattle against Marco Gonzalez. So it's one extreme to the other here, but he's just not allowing any kind of hard contact. When batters actually make contact or connect with the pitch, they do not hit it hard. They do not hit it in the air. They do not have a chance usually. It's very weak contact with him. Since June 1st or June whenever, since June 6th, he has had 7 games started. He started 7 games. He had an ERA less than 3 with 44 strikeouts in 40 innings and at least 6 innings in 5 of the last 7 games that he started. So he pitches deep into games. He's got a 2.88 ERA in the last 40 innings, 13 earned runs, 15 walks. Here's the problem, though. 7 homers. 7 homers in the last 7 starts. I guess that's not horrible. I guess that's probably normal. I don't know. It doesn't seem right, but he's the best one on the list. So if that's all you got, that's it. Vladimir Gutierrez, I love. He hasn't been great lately, but he's only owned in 38% of leagues. So he does have 5 quality starts on the season. So if your league counts quality starts, that's good. He hasn't been pitching that well lately, so I'd be hesitant about him. But the fact that he does throw quality starts means that he gets into games. That means he gets at least 6 innings into games, which is huge in these day and age, especially the second half of this year is going to be very valuable. This draft coming up, I'm very much targeting the drafts. We're doing 2 drafts right now. You guys are probably in one draft. Anyway, Lenny and I are in both, but I am targeting guys like Zach Wheeler. I'm targeting guys like Lance Lynn. These guys that I know that can handle a full 200 innings of work, no matter what they did last year. Like they could have played all year and still not, come back and pitch 200 innings. That's what we're looking for in the second half. And I will be targeting these guys as like Wheeler is already valuable. He's already having one of the best seasons in baseball for a pitcher. He's in the top 5 for pitchers so far. And he will continue to do that because he is durable. Now, a couple other guys on the list, like Patrick Sandoval, who I hate having to admit that he's good because Lenny's the one that told me about him. And then I went and picked him up and then I hated him. And I tried to trade him. I tried to drop him, but I couldn't find anybody better because Patrick Sandoval is pitching very good. Okay, that's all there is to it. I cannot deny it any longer. 3.18 ERA over the past month and a half, 28.7% strikeout rate, 16.3% swinging strike rate, 54% ground ball rate. This guy is pitching way better than I expected, and I will give Lenny the credit that he deserves, even though I don't like to at all. His only scheduled start, this is not a 2-star pitcher, but it's definitely somebody to be paying attention to because I don't think he's owned in many leagues. I think that he's going under the radar still, and people are not noticing his 3 ERA over the past month and a half. Anyway, he only has 1 start. It's going to be on the road at the Twins, Minnesota Twins, so it's not a great matchup, but it's not a horrible matchup. I mean, Buxton's out. Okay, still got Nelly Cruz to deal with. Patrick Corbin Patrick Corbin should be considered now. He has gotten over his hump of horribleness. He's had a horrible season. Awful. His last 5 starts have shown promise, okay? He's got a 3.77 ERA and a 1.19 whip. He's had 1 bad start in the last 5. And if you took that start out, you would be like, holy moly, that's Patrick Corbin. He gets to go up against Baltimore on Friday at Baltimore. So definitely somebody to consider putting as a streamer at least, and maybe more. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in him, but he used to be a good pitcher, and he still could be a good pitcher. He's past his heyday, we'll put it that way. Eduardo Rodriguez, he started yesterday. He's going to go up against the Yankees on Thursday, but I bring him up because this is another guy I really lost faith in. I hated him at the beginning I didn't hate him. I hated his pitching. It was been horrible. I would have dropped him if I would have found anybody else better to pick up, but I didn't. So he's still on my teams. He was going to have 2 starts this week, but he's not. Anyway, he's been good over his last 5 innings. So if he's available, which I think he is in a lot of leagues, the last 27 innings, he has 34 strikeouts. We love it. Only 4 walks. We love too, since if you would have seen his walking habits at the beginning of the season, you would have been like, holy moly, that's great. 34 strikeouts, 4 walks. Batters or runners are only being stranded 65% of the time, which means that he's getting very unlucky or the Red Sox defense is horrible. So that should even out in the second half of the season, and runners should not be scoring on him so much, which will help his ERA. 67.6. No, that's a different pitcher. That's his strand rate, 65. It's the same as Framber Valdez ground ball rate, 67%. Anyways, going back to Eduardo Rodriguez. His batting average on balls in play is high, 338. That both of these things, his strand rate and his batting average on balls in play, inflated. Hurts his ERA. His ERA currently is 4.33, but I would assume that when those two things normalize out, it should be losing maybe a run. Maybe it will be a 3 instead of a 4.33. Maybe it will be a 3.7 or something. It's not going to be a 3.33 that you can get. I could be gambling on that one. Anyway, Sandy Alcantara might be a good one to bench this week because he's facing the Nationals at Washington, and then he has to face the Padres. So he's facing the Nationals and the Padres. His past 4 starts have been, he struck out 15 batters and walked 9 in his last 23 1/3 of innings. So if you have an opportunity to bench Sandy Alcantara, I would do it. No question. He's not even made to be a starting pitcher, by the way. He will eventually end up in the bullpen. Mark my words on that. He will eventually end up in the bullpen where he belongs in the first place. Framber Valdez is another one to consider benching, even though it's easy to be like, oh, Framber, you just have to make him active because he's been really good. But I have to say that the fact that he's going to face the Rangers is a great, great thing. But he also, in the last 6 starts, 67.6% ground ball rate, but he's not striking anybody out. He's got a 9% swinging strike rate, and he's allowed a lot of contact in the strike zone, 91.1% in the strike zone contact. That's no bueno, dude. That means every time you throw a pitch in the strike zone, they're hitting it 91% of the time. That's just extremely something to watch bad. That's all I got, you guys. What are we doing in the chat room? Another guy in the second half, protection for Kershaw, is that, what do you think? Who is it? Josiah Gray? Malpal says Sox are stepping up with Lynn. Lynn he's good. Clase, Emmanuel Clase. 3rd straight blown save. I did not see that. That's interesting. Oh, the Sox extended Lynn. I love the White Sox. I think they're a great team. I think they're doing the right thing by their players. You don't see that very often, but he, not only Lance Lynn, but, other players too, such as Luis Robert and Eloy and all these guys that they're signing to long-term. They're like, I think they figure that they could get them cheaper if they sign them earlier, like the Mariners do. But you got to do what you got to do, But the White Sox, they're definitely something to be paying attention to. So thanks you guys for coming and watching Saturday Baseball, and we'll see you in the morning at 9 a.m. The sound will be better and everything will be great with Lenny and me. That's it. Have a good Saturday.